Watch this. The secret to a killer loop isn't in your arm. It's in how low you drop your eyes before you ever swing. Here's something most players miss. To really understand your loop, you need to observe the ball's arc from net height, not from where you're standing. Watch my arm as I loop normally versus when I add extra spin. When my partner pushes a heavier ball than expected, I have to adjust my timing on the spot. That adjustment is the whole point. You can't just run on autopilot. Next, watch the moment the arm begins to move. After a normal push, look how high the ball rises. Now here's the key, your eyes have a viewing angle. If you're standing upright, you can't judge the arc properly. You literally cannot tell the difference between 5 or 6 centimeters of height from up there. You need to crouch down. Get your eyes level with the net. Crouch and watch from there. That's the only way to actually see what the ball is doing. Look at the net, see how the arc has risen this high before the ball drops. The spin is what brings that arc back down. That's the standard. If I try to finish my stroke right here, hugging the white edge of the table, there's no way I can loop the ball up. That's impossible. I'd never clear the net. The key is timing the finish correctly. If you finish too early, the ball won't make it. But you also can't skip the finish entirely. You need it. Nothing works if the timing is off, not your wrist, not your eyes, nothing. Everything has to be just right. Here's a key reference point. My elbow should be above net height before I accelerate forward. This elbow stays above the net, not below it. If you look at top players, watch their match footage carefully, their upper arm stays roughly parallel with the table surface. The arm stays roughly parallel to the table. You fold it to about 90 degrees, and the whole movement is driven by the body, not the arm alone. This kind of motion is what I call a fake arm. It looks like arm work, but it isn't. Real arm action looks like this. You can't fold too far, and you can't fold too early. If you fold early, you just push the ball flat. Can you see the difference? Even when the ball sits up, say my partner pushes me a half-high ball, I'm still not going to collapse my arm down like this. That would dump it into the net. Instead, I lift my hand so the contact point is above net height, and then I fold. The elbow and the contact point must both be above the net before I complete the stroke. This is what I call the escort phase, the ability to stay with the ball through the stroke. A lot of recreational players cut the stroke short right at contact, they just stop. But we keep the racket traveling with the ball, guiding it forward. That escort ability is what gives you control and consistency. Without it, you're gambling on every shot. In a match, if you're spraying balls everywhere with no consistency, the math just doesn't work out in your favor. Your consistency rate needs to be at least 85%. Out of 10 loops, you need 8 or 9 to land. If you're missing as many as you make, there's no point. You'd be better off pushing and waiting for a mistake. Now let me explain something else. Watch this power loop. You might assume it's full effort the entire way through. It's not. There are two distinct phases. In the first phase, watch how high the arm rises. For a power loop, the arm reaches one height. For a spin loop, it reaches a different height. See that? Just that tiny difference. Years of refinement come down to this small detail. Look closely, the fingertips, the small adjustments at the very bottom of the grip, they set everything up. The actual ball contact happens right here, this instant. That phase is already complete. But at that moment, the arm alone doesn't have enough power, so the body delivers the force. The body pushes the energy through. That's exactly right. Once the hand has done its job, the body takes over and drives the ball through. That's how you generate a loop that blows right past your opponent.
其实关键点就是这一下，小可乐，这一下完了之后没力量了，我就得靠身体，就是这么来，
就明知道拉你这儿，
来
就拉穿你。
对拉穿，对。
If your hand drops even slightly too low, the ball flies off to the forehand side uncontrollably. On the forehand, the same rule applies. Your hand needs to be at this height, roughly even with your body. At higher levels, the key is that within your defensive range, you're already in position to touch the ball. You don't reach down and then try to come back up. Now here's another important concept about looping against backspin. When my partner pushes a heavy backspin, the heavier the spin, the faster the ball drops. So why can't you lift it? Because the ball is falling and you're swinging upward, those two forces can't connect. A pure upward brush gives you spin but no forward momentum.
对不对吧？你说有活的，是不是都一搓球都往下坠，很转？
就是你得先有过往的力量。
对。
就是你这个拉转，但是你不使劲儿，它没有前进的力量，还得有爬升的能力。
The ball needs forward drive, the ability to climb to push through. You have to drive into the ball and stay on it. Watch my arm carefully when I loop. See how I'm pressing forward into the ball as I close. The ball has to go up, yes, but not straight up. Think of it like climbing stairs. The spin carries it upward on an angle. The heavier the incoming spin, the more you need that forward component. If you don't go forward, the ball will dump into the net every time. A lot of players feel like the opponent's backspin is just too heavy, too tricky. But the real issue is simple. Without forward force, your rubber can't deform around the ball.
就这么想的，他就想的是人家转。
你不往前，你这个拍儿，你这个胶皮就不能产生形变。
对，对。
也就是说你吃不住球。
对。
什么叫吃住球？把你这个胶皮打出个坑，
对。
瞬间它又。
Then the sponge springs back and provides support again. That is what it means to really bite the ball to play through it. The sponge exists for exactly this purpose. It's like laying a cushion on top of a hard surface. The sponge deforms, compresses all the way down, and transfers the energy through to the blade. It deforms, it supports, and it connects you to the wood underneath.
它变形以后，它负责变形跟支撑。它变形压到底儿，透在板上，板儿给它一个。
The blade needs a stable foundation behind the rubber. We call that penetrating the blade. If you only skim the surface, you're relying purely on the rubber's friction to generate spin. Rubber handles the grip coefficient, the microtexture that creates friction. But real friction force requires normal pressure into the ball plus that grip coefficient. Without force pushing through the blade, friction coefficient alone gives you nothing. You could spend a fortune on the best blade available, and it wouldn't help your attacking game. You need that penetrating contact. Now watch my fingers here. These fingers stay locked. They don't shift during the stroke. Notice when my arm rises, at what point I press the racket face downward. That closing action has a specific timing. Go home and work on this slowly. Feel the fingers stay firm while the wrist angles the face down at the top of the swing. Problems keep coming up one after another. It's like a hospital dealing with tough cases that don't fit neatly into any specialty. Without a guiding principle, you end up just swinging and hoping a few go in. But once you grasp this concept, once you carry that arc in your mind, everything changes. As long as you put in the effort, you will absolutely improve beyond where you are now. The teaching philosophy here isn't about turning you into someone else. It's about giving you a clear framework so every ball you hit has purpose and direction behind it. Keep that arc in your mind and drill it until it becomes automatic.
但小鹅已经长老多球了，其实我们就是大家只要努力，肯定会比现有的你自己会好很多。然后，因为我们直播间一直传授的这个教学理念，绝对不是说让你变得